Good evening. In the news tonight, Knox County jailers head back to school to improve the way they handle prisoners. And adding insult to injury, tornadoes ripped through parts of hurricane-ravaged New Orleans.
In sports, Vincennes Lincoln has taken control of the Big 8 conference basketball race with last night's win over Washington.
Newscenter 22 is next. "16 law enforcement agencies from central and southern Indiana took part in a jailer training class at the Southwest Regional Youth Village in Vincennes this week. As Tony Cloyd reports, the class is intended to keep both jailers and inmates safe.
The Knox County Sheriff's Department hosted the two-day workshop. Sheriff Steve Luce says guarding inmates is a big responsibility, and he wants his jail staff prepared for any eventuality.
Inmates are very creative in things that they have nothing but time on their hands, so they sit back in the back of the cells. The ones who don't want to cooperate or create problems, those are the ones we're trying to target. And because we have I have a liability as a sheriff that I have to provide certain services to the inmates, so we want a safe environment for the inmates and the jail officers.
Sergeant Eddie Moore, a tactical training officer with the Hamilton County Sheriff's Department, likens the jail facility to a small town in which the jailers must patrol and the residents are the most dangerous type to control. Moore says their goal is safety first for both the jailer and the inmates. He says they train their jailers to subdue an individual with the least amount of force possible.
We will first and foremost, if we can, we will try to use verbal and body language tactics to get a person to become reasonable so that there will be no physical confrontation. But the next step is, if there is going to be a physical confrontation, I as a trainer, Sheriff Luce as an administrator, we owe our officers every opportunity to be able to save themselves in order to take care of the situation, because if we can't save ourselves, then I can't save you.
In addition to self-defense, jailers are taught to watch for changes in mood or body language that would indicate a possible attack from an inmate. Training officer Josh Carey says teamwork is especially important when entering a jail cell to subdue an unruly prisoner.
You have number one officer is the main job is to hold a shield to control that inmate, to control his head once we're in there to prevent any injury to the inmate. And then your number two guy is going to control an upper limb, an arm of some sort, and it's going to progress down the line to where number three is going to control the opposite limb.
Luce says this is a great opportunity for smaller police agencies to receive additional training for minimal cost. It's Luce's goal to eventually offer the training program statewide. I'm Tony Cloyd, Newscenter 22.
Governor Daniels isn't declaring victory yet, but he calls House passage of his sweeping highway plan an enormous step for job creation and the state's economy. The House approved the measure yesterday on a party line vote. It would lease the Indiana toll road to a private foreign consortium for nearly $4 billion. House Republicans say the legislation and proposed toll road lease are a risk-free way to help finance hundreds of highway and transportation projects around the state, including the extension of Interstate 69. Democrats say the state shouldn't lease a major asset to a foreign company. Democrat Dave Crooks of Washington failed in his attempt to convince the House to move more slowly on the bill. He says constituents who support the construction of I-69 also want more time to understand the lease concept before allowing a 75-year deal to go forward. The bill now moves to Republican-dominated Senate, where Senate President Pro Tem Robert Garton says prospects for a passage are good. The Indiana House has approved a bill that would make statewide testing from the fall to the spring. No one is quite sure how much the change will cost. State Superintendent of Public Instruction Sue Ellen Reed estimates the switch to spring testing could cost more than $45 million. But a state legislative agency says it'll cost around $11 million. But Republicans who support the move say the change might not cost anything because testing companies could volunteer to cover the cost. All 52 Republicans voted for the bill, while all 47 Democrats voted against it. The bill now moves to the GOP-controlled Senate for consideration. Republican Governor Mitch Daniels has pushed for the spring I-STEP test. State officials are looking to hold colleges accountable after a recent report revealing a dismal outlook for the post-high school education of Indiana students. Lawmakers received a report Tuesday that said only 50% of Indiana high school freshmen enroll in college after graduation, and only 32% stay in college past their first year. A mere 22% go on to earn a degree. Lawmakers are now devising a plan to hold colleges responsible for a student's success. One proposed idea is to have state colleges fill out a public report card to track the progress of students. The Indiana House has passed a bill that would require women to seek abortion to be told in writing that life begins at conception. The bill passed with a 70-30 vote and is now heading to the Senate. The bill would also require women seeking abortions to be told that a fetus might feel pain and could be given pain-killing medications during the procedure if the fetus is past 20 weeks. Some lawmakers say there is no medical, scientific, or religious consensus on when life begins, and that no scientific evidence was presented when the bill was considered in committee. The House also passed a separate bill that would require abortion clinics to meet new building standards. Planned Parenthood officials say that bill would force the state's 9 abortion clinics to shut down. The Indiana House has passed legislation that would make it legal for people to set off fireworks on their own property or someone else's if they have approval to use it for that purpose. It would override current law that requires people who buy certain fireworks in Indiana, such as firecrackers and bottle rockets, to sign a statement pledging to use them outside the state or set them off at certain controlled locations. Legal fireworks in the state include sparklers, noisemakers, and smoke bombs. Critics of the law say it is difficult to enforce, and the bill's sponsor, Republican Representative Dave Frizzell of Indianapolis, calls it a sham. The bill passed 64-30 and moves to the Senate. 3 people who were on board a medical helicopter that crashed this morning near Anderson are hospitalized in serious condition. A pilot, nurse, and paramedic were on the helicopter belonging to PHI Air Medical. It had just taken off from the Anderson Airport shortly before 2 a.m. when it crashed in a residential area of the nearby town of Chesterfield. Debris from the helicopter was scattered over several backyards. No one on the ground was injured. Residents were awakened by the sound of the crash. Federal investigators will attempt to determine the cause of the crash. The airport manager says visibility was low when the helicopter went down. A Vincennes man is facing charge of criminal recklessness and 2 counts of neglect of a dependent after setting fire in his living room. Police were called to 18 East New Albany last night after receiving a report of a fire. When they arrived, no fire was found. However, a witness told police that 39-year-old David Katz had poured oil from a lamp onto the floor and lit it. Police say they found evidence of the fire after entering the house. Indiana residents looking for jobs will soon have a monster opportunity to find a new job or place to work. The Indiana Department of Workforce Development is planning to spend nearly $3 million over the next 4 years to create a job website board operated by the company that runs Munster.com employment site. State officials say they hope the new system will attract a more diverse pool of employers and candidates. The state will replace Indiana's current job matching system that officials say is outdated and cumbersome to navigate. The new job board is expected to be available later this year. Motorists beware and buckle up. As part of a Child Passenger Safety Week, the Vincennes and Vincennes University Police Departments will take part in a statewide safety belt enforcement campaign. It begins Sunday and runs through February 19th. Police agencies across the state will be working to increase awareness of Indiana's child safety seat requirements and to encourage Hoosiers to buckle up. Still to come on Newscenter 22, House Republicans choose a new leader. And get ready for 6 more weeks of winter. Stay with us.
The public is invited to attend Meet Your Legislators on Saturday, February 25th at 9 a.m. in Davis Hall on the Vincennes University campus. The forum will include information from area legislators, followed by a question and answer session. Viewers can phone in their questions the day of the show to 812-888-5334 or send your email questions to wvut@vinu.edu. Our live broadcast begins at 9 a.m. The show will be rebroadcast that same day on WVUT at 5 p.m.
Ohio Congressman John Boehner has been chosen as the new House Majority Leader. Republican members of the House elected him by a vote of 122 to 109 over Roy Blunt on the second ballot. Blunt had been filling in as Majority Leader following the resignation of Tom DeLay, who is under indictment in an alleged campaign finance scheme. President Bush is sending Congress some big bills. A Senate Republican aide says the White House tells lawmakers to expect requests for an extra $70 billion this year for the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. That's on top of the $330 billion spent on the war so far. The official says the White House also wants $18 billion for more hurricane relief. One New Orleans resident says don't ever ask the question, what else could happen? This after tornadoes apparently struck the New Orleans area this morning, an area still reeling 5 months after Hurricane Katrina struck. The high winds undid repairs and created new damage. A forecaster says it appears the worst of the damage was caused by 2 tornadoes, one that hit the airport and another that originated in a nearby suburb and moved to the New Orleans area. Authorities say at least one hurricane-damaged house collapsed and a radio tower was blown down near a major thoroughfare. The winds ripped apart a roof off of Louis Armstrong International Airport in the suburb of Kenner. A jetway used to load passengers also ripped away and slammed into another jetway. The airport is on emergency power and passengers are grounded. West Virginia's coal mines are undergoing safety checks in compliance with a stand-down request from the governor. 2 more mine workers were killed in accidents yesterday. That brings to 16 the number of mine-related deaths in West Virginia in the past month.
But I can confirm that we have had accidents at 3 separate coal mines, 2 underground mines, and 1 surface mine that have resulted in 2 deaths today. As a result of these 3 incidents, all of which occurred within just the last few hours, I am calling on the industry to cease production activities immediately and go into a mine safety stand-down.
The governor has also ordered mine inspections speeded up so that all of the 544 of the state's surface and underground mines are examined by regulators as soon as possible. 2 car bombs that exploded about 20 minutes apart in eastern Baghdad have killed at least 11 Iraqis and wounded dozens. Meantime, a U.S. helicopter fired a rocket at a house in the Shiite district of Sadr City after being shot at. Residents say a young woman was killed. The military says 5 Americans died in Iraqi violence yesterday. Officials say a roadside bomb killed 3 soldiers south of Baghdad. Small arms fire killed another in the capital. And the military says a Marine died in fighting near Fallujah. A Western diplomat says Saddam Hussein has been watching his trial on TV. The former Iraqi leader and 4 co-defendants are boycotting the trial. The chief judge barred the other 3 from court today. After 2 witnesses described torture today, the judge adjourned until February 13th. The man in charge of the nation's intelligence gathering says Iran probably doesn't yet have enough nuclear weapons and that it has obtained material that it needs to produce them. But John Negroponte tells Congress that Iran's nuclear program is a matter of highest concern. Meanwhile, Negroponte says al-Qaeda continues to pursue chemical, biological, and atomic weapons in hopes of attacking the U.S. He says al-Qaeda remains a top concern, followed closely by Iran and North Korea. It's now up to the Senate to extend the Patriot Act. The terror-fighting law is set to expire tomorrow. The House has voted to give it another 5 weeks until March 10th. The extension is designed to give conservative Republicans and the White House time to work out changes designed to protect civil liberties. House Judiciary Committee Chairman James Sensenberger warns against playing political games with tools he says are needed on the war on terror. But House Democrats want civil rights protections before renewing the law permanently. The top Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee, Jay Harman, says lawmakers should extend it, mend it, but not end the Patriot Act. Justice Samuel Alito has broken ranks with the court's conservatives. Alito joined the court's moderates and liberals in his first full day on the court Wednesday in refusing to let Missouri execute a death row inmate contesting lethal injection. Alito sided with inmate Michael Taylor, who had won a stay from an appeals court. Chief Justice John Roberts and Justices Antonin Scalia and Clarence Thomas supported lifting the stay, but Alito joined the remaining 5 members in turning down Missouri's last-minute request to allow a midnight execution. Puppies are supposedly being used by Colombian drug dealers as couriers. Federal authorities say drug rings surgically implant packets of heroin into the puppies. The animals are then sent to New York. Investigators believe dogs and human carriers have smuggled millions of dollars worth of liquid heroin on commercial flights for distribution. The Drug Enforcement Administration has announced more than 30 arrests. Officials say a vet would stitch packets of heroin into the puppies' stomachs. 3 animals later died from infections after the drugs were removed. 10 puppies, including Labrador retrievers, were rescued last year in Colombia. The nation's retailers got a gift in the form of gift card redemptions last month. Gift cards and warmer weather in many parts of the country are credited with helping to boost retail sales last month. Chrysler is back into the incentive game. It has announced a 0% interest deal for February. The promotion covers minivans, the Chrysler Pacifica crossover, Dodge Ram light and heavy-duty pickups, the Dodge Dakota pickup, and some SUVs. Chrysler and other U.S. automakers enjoyed near-record sales last summer with their employee discount programs. But sales plummeted when those deals ended, and the companies have vowed to use incentives more sparingly. Get ready for 6 more weeks of winter. The country's official groundhog saw his shadow this morning. Punxsutawney Phil made his annual forecast to a huge crowd in the Pennsylvania town he's named after. Many in the group were Steelers fans bracing for the Super Bowl. Still to come on Newscenter 22, snow and rain are in the forecast. Alan Schaefer will have the details when Newscenter 22 continues.
Tune in to Wvut this Thursday night. At 8, watch This Old House. At 9, stay tuned for Antiques Roadshow. Then at 10, it's part 3 of Guns, Germs, and Steel. The conclusion explores how the European colonization of Africa in the 19th century was built on the ruins of African civilization. Europeans used their superiority in arms and transport to conquer almost at will. Thursday night on Wvut.
So Punxsutawney Phil has made his weather forecast, Alan.
He sure did. The little guy did see his shadow.
Can we expect some snow in the forecast?
We do have some snow and cooler temperatures on the way. Good evening, everyone. It was a pretty chilly day out there today with some rain in the area. We currently have some rain at 45 degrees. The wind is northeast at 9 miles per hour. The humidity is at 93%. And the barometric pressure is at 29.55 and holding steady. Some temperatures around the area. We had rain in most of our viewing area today, with Linton at 43 degrees, Lagodi at 45 degrees, and both Mount Carmel and Lawrenceville at 43 degrees. The national temperature map will show us that much of the southern United States had some pretty mild temperatures today, ranging in the 50s and 60s, with parts of Florida down here in the 70s, and even some temperatures in Texas reaching 80 and 90 degrees. Most of the northern United States, including us, only saw temperatures in the 40s, with parts in North Dakota only reaching 19. As we take a look at the frontal map, we'll see this cold front that brought us the colder temperatures that we are experiencing, and this low pressure system that is bringing us the rain that we've had in our area today. As we look towards the west, we'll see this low up here and this cold front that should make its way towards our area for later on Monday, bringing us a few chance of flurries. Let's take a look at your forecast. Tonight, rain and a low of 36. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy and a high of 50. Tomorrow night, partly cloudy and a low of 29. For Saturday, we do have some snow flurries in the forecast with a high of 37 and a low of 23. For Sunday, we're going to have cloudy skies with a high of 36 and a low of 22. And for Monday, we have a rain-snow mix with a high of 39 and a low of 24. And Amy, don't forget your umbrella if you go out tonight.
All right, Alan, I'll have my umbrella and my rain boots all ready. Still to come on Newscenter 22, Kurt Maddox will have highlights from last night's Vincennes-Lincoln-Washington game, and the Pacers expect Steven Jackson may miss some court time. Stay with us.
Romantic, mysterious, and ancient. Home to Queen Elizabeth and William the Conqueror, Windsor is the largest inhabited castle in the world. Our cameras go, for the first time, down the hallways of history and into the private domain of British royalty.
Alice's rain threes on the hatchets. Good evening, everyone. For TV 22 Sports, I'm Kurt Maddox. Vincennes-Lincoln knocked down 11 of 24 three-point attempts and beating rival Washington 63-48 last night at Alice Arena. Colton Oxman bombed back-to-back threes, and teammate DJ Smith followed with a pair of trays as the part of the 13-0 run to give Lincoln a 36-24 second-quarter lead. The Alices were forced to bomb away from the outside due to the presence of 6'9" Tyler Zeller and 6'9" Brian Boucher in the post. Lincoln coach Steve Combs was quick to credit his team's defensive effort on the Hatchet's Twin Towers from taking control of the game.
Anytime you got a team with a 6'10" kid, a 7-foot kid, and where you can hold them under 50 points, you've competed well. And I also thought that we had some individual players that stepped up and hit some big shots for us, and collectively our team offense was outstanding.
Zeller led the Hatchets with 17 points, while Boucher finished with 15. Lincoln's Craig Hines scored a game-high 20 points, while Smith and Colton Oxman tallied 18 and 15 points respectively. Lincoln improves to 6-0 in the Big 8 Conference, while Washington drops to 3-2. The Alices can win the conference title outright with a victory over Mount Carmel later this month. Roderick Wilmot scored a career-high 23 points in his first start of the season to help 22nd-ranked Indiana beat Northwestern 72-63. The Hoosiers snapped a 2-game losing streak by winning the 34th straight home game over the Wildcats. Northwestern tied the score twice, at 22 late in the first half and at 30 earlier in the second half. But Indiana sealed the game by making 9 of 10 free throws in the final 2 minutes and never trailed for only the second time this season. Kevin Pittsnoggle scored 22 points, and 11th-ranked West Virginia improved to 7-0 in the rough-and-tumble Big East by holding off Notre Dame to 71-70. The Mountaineers clung to a 71-65 lead with less than a minute left in the game. Chris Quinn, who led the Irish with 24 points, had a chance to win the game but missed a jumper with less than 2 seconds remaining. Colin Falls added 18 points as he and Quinn combined for 12 of the Irish's 14 three-pointers. Notre Dame has now dropped 7 conference games by 6 points or less. Jeff Horner scored a career-high 32 points to lead Iowa to a 77-68 victory over Purdue. The Boilermakers shot 52% for the game, but was hurt by 15 turnovers. New Pacer Peja Stojakovic scored 26 points in his home court debut as Indiana beat the Lakers 105-79. The Pacers held Kobe Bryant to 26 points, 10 below his league-leading average. But Pacers guard Steven Jackson was taken to the hospital after a collision left him with a bruised hip. Doctors will examine him later, but his availability for Saturday's game against Detroit is questionable. The Phoenix Suns blew most of a 21-point halftime lead before outlasting the Celtics 102-94 in Boston. Former VU Trailblazer Sean Marion had 21 points and 12 rebounds for the Suns, who were up 59-38 at the break. Raja Bell finished with 18 points, while Steve Nash contributed 13 and 8 assists. The Celtics lost despite Paul Pierce, who scored 33 of his 40 points in the second half. Pierce sparked a 13-0 run and helped Boston outscore Phoenix 31-16 in the third period. The Detroit Pistons went back to their winning ways just a day after their 11-game winning streak ended in New Jersey. Richard Hamilton scored 21 points and Tayshaun Prince added 20 as the Pistons whipped Minnesota 90-74. The Pistons trailed in the second quarter until a 20-2 run gave them the 43-29 lead. Detroit improved to an NBA best 38-6 by winning for the 21st time in 23 home games. 2 Indiana Pacers have been selected to play in the NBA Rookie Challenge, to be played 2 days before the NBA All-Star Game later this month. Danny Granger and Sarunas Jasikevicius will play in the annual showdown between the league's top first and second-year players. The Super Bowl war of words is continuing today, with Pittsburgh linebacker Joey Porter saying the Steelers will be so physical in the Super Bowl they will try to make the Seattle quit playing. Porter says Pittsburgh's goal is to try to tap out as many Seattle Seahawks as possible. In response, Seattle tight end Jeremy Stevens calls Porter's comments ridiculous. The Steelers remain a 4-point favorite for Sunday's game. The city of South Bend and the College Football Hall of Fame have failed again to reach an agreement on a 5-year contract aimed at keeping the hall in the city. The two sides say they're aiming to finish the contract by the end of this month. When the Hall of Fame was moved to South Bend in 1995, then Mayor Joe Kernan said the hall would cost taxpayers nothing. But since the opening, city taxpayers have funneled millions of dollars into the museum's operational expenses. Steve Lowry is 7 under par through 16 holes and is early leader of the first round of the FBR Open outside of Phoenix. After a slow start, defending champion Phil Mickelson is heating up with 3 birdies and is tied for 10th at 2 under. Retief Goosen is tied for the first-round lead at the Dubai Desert Classic with Richard Green and Jamie Donaldson at 8 under 64. Tiger Woods is 3 strokes behind. And Amy, that's a look at sports.
Thanks, Kurt. Still to come on Newscenter 22, a former East Tennessee State cheerleader says she was kicked off the squad because she works at Hooters. Stay with us.
Next time on Guns, Germs, and Steel. Settlers push into Africa.
If you didn't handle a gun that day, there was something wrong with you.
But Africa pushes back.
They were up against a king who could mobilize an army of 10 to 15,000 men. They were absolutely fearless.
Into the tropics, the final chapter of Guns, Germs, and Steel.
Kimberly Sams can't be a cheerleader and a Hooters girl. The freshman at East Tennessee State University says she's been kicked off the cheerleading squad because of where she works. Cheerleading coach Jeremy Bartow says being a Hooters girl isn't acceptable employment for an ETSU cheerleader. Sams notes she's 18 and should be able to work wherever she wants. Some people object to the skimpy tops and short shorts worn by the Hooters waitresses, but Sams says her cheerleader outfit is more revealing. She says at least at Hooters, she wears pantyhose under her shorts. And that's all for now. Join us again tomorrow. For Alan Schaefer and Kurt Maddox, I'm Amy Reith. Good night.